I'm Riley from Desecrator. Hey.
To start this interview off, tell me the album that you're most looking forward to this year.
Most looking forward to? Wow, like you're starting with something hard, huh? The Desecrated album is coming out, that's pretty cool.
It's already out.
Is it? There you go. Have to get a copy then. Albums I'm looking forward to. Man, I think it'd have to be the Overkill album that's coming out at the end of March. I think that new Bobby Blitz is always good. It's always good.
One of the guys from my site got to hear it and interview Bobby.
Really?
So he said it was really good.
Yeah. Apparently he's a champion. Apparently he's a really good dude. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine that would have been good. And I'd imagine, I mean, the last album, Ironbound, like, that did a lot for this whole reinvention of thrash movement thing. So I think it's good.
Making a debut album a live recording is something I've never seen before. What gave you the idea to do it?
I think it was mainly rooted in that metal these days, in particular, across more genres than just thrash, has gotten so overproduced and so polished, and technology's come so far that it really was distracting from the point. I mean, it's kind of limitless what you can do in the studio with your music, and it was taking away from that kind of raw, live, honest energy that the music started as, and that what got me into music. So what we wanted to do is really kind of bring what we do live, recorded, and we couldn't find a way to get it that honest apart from to do it from live.
So is the album more like a tribute to the Arthouse, being that it's like one of its closing shows?
There was definitely that in there too. I mean, all of us, we'd all grown up in that joint. It's, I think, one of the first few metal shows I ever saw of local bands that made me discover there was local metal in this country was in that joint. So I think for us it was a nice thing to do. It was kind of, it worked for our purpose that we already had, but it definitely suited that we could do it in the Arthouse, which we all loved. You know, it's a place that's been sorely missed since it's been gone. So.
Desecrator have seemed to be a quick working band, releasing an EP and an album in less than 2 years of forming. How do you go with writing new material? Are you planning on making a new album soon?
I think that yeah, we did hit the ground kind of running, and we had a lot to do in a short space of time. We've had some really great opportunities in the short time, in the tour with Forbidden, and the stuff we did around the country within Malice's wake, and we've got a lot happening this year. So it was really, we had to find a gap to create some space to write, because you can't do everything. So that is the plan. We do plan on getting a feature out, but for now it was kind of take the opportunities while they're there, play our guts out, get tired on the road, and then write about it.
So with the new album, if you do it a studio one this time, is it going to be like more of the raw energy you were talking about just before?
Well, there's something that we've been discussing recently as the new material heats up. We've started to put a few new songs in the set, and we've started to kind of meld them with the old ones and see how they balance together and see where the progression's taking us. I'm leaving it open at the moment because I do want to still harness that energy that makes us us, otherwise it would be a different band. So it's going to be an interesting process. I think that there might be some trial and error involved in some pre-production and some trial recordings, see how they sound and make sure it's thrash.
When you formed Desecrator, did you ever think that in such a short time you'd be touring Australia with Forbidden, in Malice's wake, and playing shows with Mortal Sin and Toxic Holocaust?
To be honest, I've always had a very fixed vision for this band. I've never been kind of scared to go out and get it, and I think that everyone in Desecrator has had a long history of other bands and touring. So we kind of, whilst we had no idea any of these things were going to happen. I think that from day one, we planned to put the hard work in place, and we had a fixed vision of how we wanted to grow and where we wanted to be, so that we did have a quick rise no matter what direction it was, and just get on stage and hope that someone likes it. And it seems to have gone well. It seems to be going well. We've got a lot of exciting things happening.
Tell me a few of your favourite moments from these tours or shows.
The first one that comes to mind is the one that always comes to mind because it was the most painful. Was we were playing in Adelaide on the Malice's Wake tour. I think there's some photos floating around of it. I went for a headbang back just as Mono went for a bass swing forward and caught the back of my head with his bass headstock and it gashed the back of my head. I don't know if you ever had a scalp wound, man, but they bleed heaps. And we kept playing and I kept in it and I knew it hurt and I was kind of shaking and my vision was gone and we thought, we'll keep playing, we'll keep thrashing. I'm playing, and all of a sudden I could feel wet. I could just feel this wetness and I looked down and there's just drip and blood going everywhere. It was awesome. It was one of those moments, So it hurt the next day, and the overnight bus ride home with congealed blood coming off my head on the way back from Adelaide sucked ass. But for that moment, it was pretty cool.
So what did you do? Did you just headbang it all over the crowd again?
There was no need to headbang it, man. It was spraying. It was literally spraying all over my guitar, all over the crowd. It was everywhere. It's amazing how interested a crowd get in you once you're bleeding profusely.
It's because it's metal.
Something like that.
Do you have any plans for your own Australian tour or an international tour sometime soon?
Look, this year we've got a lot of things coming up with, got a lot of interstate gigs coming up that we're about to announce. I've been working pretty hard with promoters we worked with last year and bands that we worked with last year around Australia, so I should hopefully be able to announce some at least interstate dates soon, and we do have some pretty exciting prospects overseas. There's definitely plans and there's definitely wheels in motion, so hopefully, fingers crossed and the metal gods shining down on us, we'll have some exciting announcements pretty soon,
What do you think of the local music scene? Is there any way that you think it could be improved?
I think the local music scene is always going to go through the up and down flow that it does. I mean, if you look at it over the last 5 to 10 years, even 10 to 15 years, how it's kind of gone from the scene originally with bands like Hobbs and Nine Drive and all the original bands. There was such a community based on it, and then it kind of went through death metal, and then it went a bit separatist, and scenes have come and they've gone. I think the underlying need for people to hear music and to hear it from an Australian's point of view, because we do play it very uniquely. I think it's always going to have a scene and a community that underlies. It'll sometimes be dormant, it'll sometimes be driven out of pubs, gigs will go through hardships, but I think that's what makes it what it is. I think that's what's important to it, and that's what gives it its sound. And as long as there's bands who are playing and keen to write, there'll always be something. There'll always be something,
What's your favourite song to play live and why?
Does it have to be one of ours?
Depends, do you play covers?
I think I always say Rotten Christ because it's like I think it's the 7th track on that album or something, so it's the one that's a bit further down, and it's kind of a dark horse of a song. I like the subject matter of it too. It was something that was sitting around for a while, so I enjoy that one. Anything anyone wants to headbang to, I'll enjoy playing, man.
The whole album?
The whole album.
What do you mean when you say that Thrash is dead and Desecrator are its tombstone?
I think that was something that was that was a phrase we used to throw around even before this band had a proper lineup. That was something that I used to say to everyone who said thrash is back. There's this big, the thrash scene's back, and thrash metal's this and thrash metal's that. And I think to a large degree there might be a scene happening that'll rise and fall with it, but thrash metal never went anywhere in my opinion. It was still thrash metal, you know. It always existed, it always will exist, because if bands write it and play it, people love it, you know. No matter who you are or what you're into it this month or that month, you'll always go back to listening to Raining Blood and Ride the Lightning, you know. You can always get drunk with someone and have a good time headbanging to that in someone's lounge room, someone's garage, someone's car, you know. And I think that was the point, is that if you think thrash is back, then it may as well be dead, it may as well be back, whatever you want to say it is. Because to us, it never went anywhere, man. Thrash is thrash, it's just present, you know.
Let's pretend that you're 6 years old again and someone gives you a copy of Live Till Death to listen to. How do you think you would react?
Man, I reckon I was only like 7 or 8 the first time I heard metal. I remember it, and I think it probably would have been Metallica. I think it was either the Black Album or Ride the Lightning or something like that. And I remember the first time I heard Fight Fire with Fire, and that was it for me. That was it. I knew at that point, at that stage in my life, that I was going to look exactly like this and be doing exactly this, and I've never run off that path in my life. I just thought that was definitely the way. So I think that that if I heard that back then in the same way, that intensity that we tried to capture it, we tried to capture it because we were all that age once, and we all got into it for that reason. So that's why we do this band. So I'd like to think that I'd connect with it in the same way I connected with what actually influenced me, you know. I hope there's some 6-year-old out there who's making his first metal horns to it somewhere, you know.
What do you think of Metal Obsession? Do you check the website regularly?
Yeah, I think Metal Obsession is doing some really good stuff for the local scene. I think it's really good what heavy metal promotion companies on the internet can do now, and what they can do for local bands, whilst they do things for bigger bands and international touring bands. If they put local bands in the mix, they raise the perspective of how people see local bands. They don't see them as this cut below, they see them as on par with the bands who are touring. And all of a sudden, someone who might not check out a band from Melbourne is going to see them advertised beside the latest Machine Head or Lamb of God tour or whatever the hell is happening, and they're going to maybe go have a listen. And man, if it brings one more listener, 10 more listeners, then Metal Obsession's done a great job, you know. And other promo companies from this country, it's the same thing. It's just it's a really good part of the community that is the internet used well, instead of, you know, people just using it to reflect themselves to themselves.
If you could be any bands back in the day, who would it be and why?
You've seen our press photos, you tell me, man. I think it's pretty obvious. I think I wear that one on my sleeve. I think I always have. I think our music does and everything. I don't even think I need to name it for anyone who's heard our album, so listen to the album.
Yeah. Where do you think metal will be in 20 years?
I think it'll probably be in the same place it is now, but completely different, you know. It's the same, it's a centre point, you know. It's like why people buy metal shirts. They buy them as a flag and a conviction, and you know, metal will always be metal. There'll be different ways it's played, different scenes that it goes through, different trends, different whims. But I think at the core of it, the energy that attracted people to it is present in every successful style of it. So I think it'll be in the same place it is now. It'll be healthy, there'll be kids loving it, there'll be some 6-year-old hearing it for the first time, and there'll be some dude like me trying to play it, you know, and hopefully I'll still be playing it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before this interview ends?
Thank you for the interview. Thank you for listening to our album, if you have yet. If you haven't yet, check our album out. I know you have. And stay metal, we'll see you in the pit.
Awesome.